Your cat has been listening to you for years. And no, I don't mean they hear sounds. I mean they actually understand specific words you say. Most people assume cats ignore human language entirely, that they're just responding to tone or food smells or coincidence. But here's the thing. Researchers have discovered that cats process human vocabulary in ways we completely underestimated. Today, we're looking at 13 words your cat genuinely understands, and some of these will completely change how you communicate with them. Stay until the end, because number 12 is about something your cat does every single morning and night that most owners think is random, and number 13 is the one that, once you understand it, explains why your cat disappears at certain moments. And if you want to understand your pet on a deeper level, subscribe, because every week we cover what your cat is actually trying to tell you. Let's start with number 1. 1. Their own name. They know exactly who you're talking to. So, why does your cat's ear twitch the moment you say their name, even when they're pretending to sleep? Most people assume cats respond to any word said in that particular tone, that their name is just noise they've associated with attention. But here's what most people don't realize. Your cat can distinguish their name from other words with similar sounds and lengths. A study published in Scientific Reports by researchers at Sophia University in Tokyo found that cats showed specific responses to their own names even when played recordings from strangers, and even when their names were embedded in a list of random nouns. Their ears moved, their heads turned, their pupils dilated. This is why your cat ignores you calling the dog, but suddenly appears when you whisper their name from 3 rooms away. They're not responding to tone. They've learned that specific combination of sounds means them. That's recognition. That's identity. And every time you say their name, they know you're talking directly to them. 2. The word no. They understand it. They just disagree. Have you noticed your cat pause mid-action when you say no, even if they continue doing the thing anyway? Most owners think this proves cats don't understand the word, that the pause is just a startle response. But here's the thing. That pause is comprehension. Your cat absolutely knows what no means. Research from animal cognition specialists suggests cats can learn inhibitory commands through repetition and consequence. They understand that no signals your disapproval and that continuing the behavior might have results they don't want. This is why your cat stops scratching the couch when you say no, waits until you look away, then immediately starts again. They're not confused. They understood perfectly. They just made a choice. In their mind, no is information, not a command. They're weighing your disapproval against whatever they want to do. And honestly, the fact that they understand and still decide, that's not defiance. That's a cat who knows exactly what you said and respects you enough to at least consider it. But if the word no surprised you, number 3 goes even deeper, because this one isn't about a specific word at all. 3. Your tone of voice. They read the music, not just the lyrics. Why does your cat come running when you use that high-pitched voice, even if you're saying complete nonsense? Most people assume tone is all cats respond to, that words don't matter at all. But that's only part of the story. Your cat processes tone and words as separate channels of information. A study from the University of Tokyo found that cats can distinguish between their owner's voice and a stranger's voice, and they respond differently to affectionate tones versus neutral ones. But here's what's fascinating. They respond most strongly when the tone and the word both match what they've learned. This is why your cat knows the difference between you saying their name lovingly and you saying their name because they just knocked your water glass off the table. Same word, completely different meaning, and they hear it instantly. Your cat isn't just listening to what you say. They're listening to how you say it. They're reading the emotion underneath. And that means every conversation you have with them carries more information than you realize. 4. The word treat or food. This one's wired directly to their brain. Why does your cat materialize from nowhere the moment you say treat, even if they were sound asleep upstairs? Most people assume this is just Pavlovian conditioning, a simple stimulus response with no real understanding. But here's what most owners don't realize. Your cat hasn't just associated the sound with food. They've categorized it. Research in animal learning shows that cats can group words by meaning, understanding that treat, food, dinner, and even the sound of a specific cabinet opening all belong to the same category. This is why your cat responds to treat whether you whisper it or shout it, whether you're in the kitchen or the bedroom. They've abstracted the meaning from the sound. That's not just conditioning, that's comprehension. Your cat learned a word, understood what it represents, and responds to the concept, not just the noise. And every time you say it, you're speaking their language. Number 5 is the one that proves just how precisely they're listening. 5. The sound of their name versus other words. They hear differences you don't even notice. Have you ever tested saying words that sound similar to your cat's name and watched them not respond? Most people think cats just react to any word said in a certain way, that names are interchangeable with similar-sounding words. But research from the Tokyo study I mentioned earlier specifically tested this. Cats heard their own names mixed with nouns that had the same length and rhythm. They responded significantly more to their actual names. Their auditory processing is precise enough to detect subtle phonetic differences that humans barely notice. This is why your cat named Luna ignores tuna, but perks up for Luna. They've mapped those exact sounds to their identity. They know which combination of syllables means them. It's not just recognition, it's linguistic precision. Your cat has essentially learned a word in a foreign language and responds only to the correct pronunciation. That's not a pet hearing noise. That's a mind paying attention. But if that linguistic precision surprised you, number 6 goes even deeper. Because this one reveals something most owners assume cats simply cannot do. Have you ever called your cat from another room, said, "Come here," and watched them actually appear? Most people think that's coincidence, or they assume the cat was already heading that way. Here's what most people don't realize. Your cat genuinely understands that phrase as a request for movement toward you. Researchers at Kyoto University found that cats can follow pointing gestures and verbal summons, demonstrating an understanding of human, communicative intent. When you say, "Come here," your cat isn't just hearing sounds, they're processing a directive. They understand that those specific words, in that specific sequence, mean you want them to move in your direction. The reason they don't always respond isn't confusion, it's choice. Your cat hears you perfectly. They comprehend what you're asking, and then they decide whether they feel like complying. This is why your cat sometimes trots over immediately, and other times stares at you like you've said nothing at all. They understood both times. The difference is motivation, not comprehension. In their mind, "come here" is a request, not a command. And the fact that they ever choose to honor it means they've weighed your invitation against whatever else they were doing and picked you. That's not obedience. That's a cat deciding you're worth walking toward. Now, number 7 is the one that might unsettle you a little. Because your cat understands far more about your emotional state than the actual words you're using. Why does your cat suddenly appear when you're crying, even if you haven't made a sound they should hear from across the house? Most owners assume cats are oblivious to human emotions. They're supposedly too independent, too self-focused. But here's the thing. Your cat is reading your emotional state through the words you speak, not just the content, but the entire acoustic signature of distress or joy or fear. A study published in Animal Cognition demonstrated that cats can distinguish between happy and angry human vocalizations, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. When you speak while stressed, your voice carries tension patterns, shorter phrases, higher pitch variance, sharper consonants. When you're relaxed, your speech flows differently. Your cat has learned to decode these patterns over years of living with you. They don't need to understand English. They understand you. This is why your cat comes closer when you're talking through a problem out loud, even if you're not speaking to them. This is why they avoid the room when you're arguing on the phone, even though you've never raised your voice at them. They've mapped your vocal, emotional landscape. They know what fear sounds like in your specific voice. They recognize contentment. They've learnt the sound of you being okay versus not okay. And they respond to that knowledge. Your cat isn't psychic. They're fluent in you. But if that emotional literacy surprised you, number 8 might genuinely shock you. Because your cat doesn't just know their own name. They know everyone else's too. Have you noticed that when you call your dog's name, your cat's ears move? Most people dismiss this as general alertness to any sound. The assumption is that cats only process information relevant to themselves. That's wrong. Research conducted at Kyoto University, the same team that studied name recognition, found that cats living in multi-pet households learned to recognize the names of other animals they lived with. When researchers played recordings of owners saying a cohabitant pet's name, the cats showed recognition responses: ear movement, head turning, pupil dilation. Your cat has essentially built a vocabulary of household identities. They know that Max means the dog. They know that Whiskers means the other cat. They've associated each name with a specific animal, and they understand when you're addressing someone else versus addressing them. This is why your cat doesn't come running when you call the dog for dinner. It's not that they didn't hear you. They heard you perfectly, processed the name, identified it as belonging to someone else, and remained where they were. That's not indifference. That's sophisticated social cognition. Your cat is tracking the linguistic landscape of your entire household. They know who's who. They know which sounds belong to which beings. In their mind, your home has a cast of characters, and every character has a name. They're not just living with you. They're paying attention to the whole story. And hey, if this is starting to change how you see your cat's intelligence, hit like and subscribe. It's the best way to help us reach more owners who genuinely want to understand what's happening in their pet's mind. Number 9 is one most owners completely underestimate. And once you understand it, you'll never use these words the same way again. Does your cat actually know when you're praising them? When you say "good kitty" in that soft, warm voice? Do they understand that's approval? Most owners assume cats don't care about verbal praise the way dogs do. They're supposedly too aloof for that. Here's what most people don't realize. Your cat absolutely registers praise words, and they register them as positive social signals. A study from the University of Tokyo found that cats show distinct behavioral responses to praising versus neutral speech. Slower blinking, relaxed posture, approach behavior. When you say "good kitty," your cat processes both the words and the tone, and they've learned over time that this combination follows behaviors you approve of. They understand cause and effect. They jumped on the right surface and praise followed. They used the scratching post instead of the couch, and that warm voice appeared. This is why your cat sometimes repeats behaviors you've praised before. This is why they look at you after doing something and seem to wait. They're checking for the verbal reward. They've learned that Good kitty means they've pleased you. And here's the part that matters. Cats are not pack animals driven by hierarchy. They don't need your approval to survive, yet they've learned to recognize it, seek it, and respond to it. That's not instinct. That's your cat choosing to care what you think. They're not doing tricks for treats. They're listening for your voice to tell them they've done well. And the fact that it matters to them, that changes everything about what those two simple words actually mean. If this is starting to change how you see your cat, hit like on this video right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and turn on the bell. We're building a community of owners who actually want to understand what their pets are telling them. Now let's keep going, because number 10, coming up, is the one that most owners get completely wrong. Now, number 10 is one that most owners assume their cat doesn't understand at all. You say down or off. Your cat on the counter. Your cat on the keyboard. Your cat sprawled across the exact spot where you need to work. And they just stare at you. So you assume they have no idea what you're saying. Here's what most people don't realize. Your cat absolutely understands what down and off mean. They just don't care. Research from the University of Tokyo found that cats process human commands similarly to dogs. They understand the request. They simply choose whether to comply based on their own assessment of the situation. This isn't defiance in the way we think of it. It's independent decision-making. Your cat hears off, processes that you want them to move, and then weighs that against how comfortable they currently are. And here's what makes this fascinating. The words themselves do register. Cats in studies showed recognition responses to specific command words, even when spoken by strangers, proving they'd learned the vocabulary, not just your tone. This is why your cat sometimes does get down when you say it, not because they suddenly understood, but because in that moment, they decided your request was worth honoring. They're not ignoring you out of spite. They're making a choice. And the fact that they sometimes choose to listen, that's not obedience. That's respect, given on their terms, which, honestly, makes it mean more. But if number 10 surprised you, number 11 might explain something you've noticed, but never quite put together. Because this one is about phrases your cat has memorized without you ever trying to teach them. Think about your feeding routine for a moment. Do you say the same thing every time? Dinner time. Are you hungry? Let's get your food. Whatever phrase you use, your cat has absolutely learned it. Most owners assume their cat just recognizes the sound of the food bag or the cabinet opening. And yes, those sounds matter. But researchers at Kyoto University discovered something remarkable. Cats can distinguish specific word combinations associated with feeding from other similar-sounding phrases. They're not just responding to kitchen noises, they're listening for the words. The study found that cats showed anticipatory behavior, moving toward feeding areas, increased vocalization, dilated pupils, when they heard feeding phrases, even when no food sounds accompanied them. Just the words alone triggered the response. This is why your cat sometimes appears in the kitchen the moment you say, dinner time, to another human in the house. They weren't responding to your actions. They were responding to the vocabulary. Your cat has essentially learned a phrase in your language that means something important to them. And here's the thing. They learned it entirely on their own, just by paying attention to you. Every single day, without any training, your cat has been studying your language. And the words that matter most to them, they've memorized those completely. Now, number 12 is going to hit differently. Because this one is about something your cat does that you might not have even noticed them noticing. What do you say when you leave the house? Bye, baby. See you later. Be good. Whatever your goodbye routine is, those specific words, that specific phrase, your cat has learned exactly what it means. Most owners assume their cat doesn't care when they leave. Cats seem so independent, so unbothered. But studies tracking feline behavior during owner absence tell a different story. Cats showed measurably different responses to owners leaving with goodbye phrases versus leaving silently. The words themselves triggered specific behavioral changes. Some cats would move to windows, others would vocalize. Many would settle into waiting positions they didn't adopt at other times. Your goodbye routine has become a signal. Your cat has learned that these specific words mean you're about to disappear. And here's what researchers found most interesting. Cats who heard consistent goodbye phrases showed less stress behavior during owner absence than cats whose owners left unpredictably. The words gave them information, a framework for understanding what was happening. This is why your cat might appear at the door when you say, "I'll be back." Not because they understand English, but because they've learned that these sounds predict your departure. And in their own way, they're responding. They're acknowledging the goodbye. The moment you thought they weren't paying attention, they were listening to every word. And they learned your leaving phrases because your absence matters to them enough to track it. And here's the transition that matters most. Because number 13 is the word I saved for last. And honestly, it might be the most revealing one on this entire list. Because this word proves something about your cat's memory that most owners never consider. And here's the one I saved for last. The word vet. Say it right now out loud in your normal voice. Watch your cat's ears, watch their body. For many cats, this single word triggers an immediate response. Ears flattening, pupils dilating, sometimes moving away or hiding. Most owners assume this is coincidence, or that the cat is responding to something else entirely. But animal behaviorists have documented this phenomenon extensively. Cats can learn to associate specific words with experiences, particularly stressful ones, after remarkably few exposures. Some cats show recognition responses to vet after just 2 or 3 visits. Your cat has connected this word to the carrier, the car ride, the strange smells, the examination, and they remember. A study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science found that cats retain negative associations with specific sounds and words for years, far longer than previously believed. This is why your cat might react to vet, even if their last visit was 18 months ago. The word itself has been filed away in their memory as a warning signal. And here's what this actually reveals. Your cat is paying such close attention to your language that even words you only use a few times a year get catalogued and remembered. They're listening for information. They're building a vocabulary of words that matter. And vet matters, because anything connected to you, anything that disrupts their world with you, gets stored permanently. That reaction isn't just stress. It's proof of how carefully they've been listening all along. If any of this changed how you see your cat, hit like. It means a lot. Leave a comment. Does your cat react to the word vet? I read every single one, and honestly, the stories you share always surprise me. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We do this every week. Your cat learned your voice, your phrases, your goodbye routine, all without a single lesson. Maybe it's time we start paying that kind of attention back.